Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar. I think we can get started. The round is still filling up, but yeah, due to the time, let's get started. And yeah, welcome to our webinar about full control and more efficiency, cloud observability with Datadog and demicon. So I will briefly guide you through our agenda today and then pass over to Daniela for the first part. So first, we will talk about introduction into cloud observability with Datadog. Second part, we will have a short demo about the full application lifecycle management with Datadog. And then third, we have the introduction into the DevEx platform of demicon and as a customer use case. And then at the end, a short live Q&A session. And with that, a short introduction to myself. I'm Rico Nuguit. I'm the head of engineering at demicon. Yeah, leading the engineering department at demicon for 5 years now. Yeah, expert in cloud platform engineering and cloud topics. With that, I pass over to Daniela.
Thank you, Rico. Yeah, my name is Daniela. I'm a sales engineer here at Datadog, and today we'll be covering about cloud observability and a bit on the platform demo. So with that, let me get started. The first thing I want to touch on is basically cloud observability with Datadog. And with that, let's start with this Gartner data chart, where we see a sustained rate of migration over the past years, which is also expected to continue into the future. So why is this happening? There's a lot of reasons, but mainly because of the interactions with customers online. And also in general, digital innovation is seen as a key factor to remain competitive. And for this, of course, the cloud provides the agility, the short time to value, and operations efficiency needed for this innovation. And of course, we now expect this to be even more pronounced in the age of AI, where being digital in the cloud are prerequisites to adoption. Where does Datadog come in? Datadog is an observability and security platform to get full visibility of your tech stack in a single platform. And why is this important? What is even observability? In simple terms, observability is about getting the visibility we need to understand what's happening inside our systems, which are often complex and distributed. Now, the old ways of obtaining this information from our systems can be inefficient. So either you need a very expert knowledge to collect data to troubleshoot, or the information is spread over many systems, or it could also happen that in an elastic deployments, the host or container may not even be around anymore. So with Datadog, we collect all the outputs in one central place, correlated and easy to find and easy to access as well. We give you this kind of end-to-end observability onto a single unified platform. So as you can see here, from infrastructure monitoring to application performance monitoring, real user monitoring, logs management, security, all the way to developer experience. Now, for today's demo, we're going to be focusing on what we call here the 3 pillars of observability, which is basically infrastructure monitoring, application performance monitoring, and logs management. We're also actually going to do a small troubleshooting exercise. So with that, let me share the platform. So you should be looking at my screen. And for today's demo, I'm going to start with this main dashboard of our demo store called Couch Cache, this one right here. And this is an overall overview dashboard that will give me, or that will work for me to give you an overview of what Datadog covers, and also the different questions that we can answer with Datadog. So starting at the top, we see here some widgets of our SLO to start answering questions such as, can we keep the service level commitment to our customers? Then if we scroll down here, we have some custom metrics, some business metrics that are relevant to this specific Couch Cache store. By the way, this e-commerce demo store is hosted on multiple clouds. So we're going to see how that would work in Datadog. So the point here is having custom metrics, business metrics that are relevant to your business in the same place that you also have metrics on your tech stack to do this correlation. Now, a little bit of a spoiler here in this section of our troubleshooting exercise, we see that we have a revenue impact in our web store service. This is the service that we're going to troubleshoot later on. But then in the same place, we can start taking a look at our application performance monitoring. Again, one of our most important services called our web store service. It's currently in red, meaning there's an alarm, an alert going on. So I can start taking a look from here, some of our most important health metrics right here, and start correlating it as well with our infrastructure metrics to start answering questions such as, can my infrastructure support a surge in traffic, for example? Then all of this, of course, correlated with our logs coming in from our infrastructure. So it could be multiple clouds. It could be also application logs. So basically having all of the different logs, all of your different infrastructure metrics and application performance metrics together with your business custom metrics all in the same place, which at the end is the power of Datadog, being able to correlate all of these metrics and all of your different tech stack in one single place, making your troubleshooting and optimizing experience more seamless. Now, this is a custom dashboard. Basically, in order to create dashboards, we use widgets. We don't use a query language. We basically drag and drop widgets. And then after you create your dashboards, you can go ahead and share them as maybe even a report. If you want to actually automate this as a report, you can do that. And all of these widgets are actionable. So from here, if I'm going to troubleshoot this web store service, I could go ahead and directly take a look at the host, the underlying infrastructure of my service, take a look at the containers, maybe take a look at the logs or the traces, all for my web store service. However, I'm going to take a step back and take a look at how we can monitor all of our infrastructure in Datadog. And for that, I want to start with this host map right here. So basically, each tile represents a host, could be a server, a VM, and you can go ahead and fill it out by any metric right here. Or if in your case you have multiple cloud environments, you can go ahead and, for example, group this by cloud provider. As you can see here as well, you can group it by maybe region, by service, maybe even by team. So since we don't use a query language, you can go ahead and group all of this using just our tags. So no need to learn any query language when you start using Datadog. And you can do the same by looking at your containers right here. So again, I'm looking at now my containers. I can go ahead, fill it out with different metrics, and also group it with the metric or with the parameter that I need right here. Now, if I go back into my hosts, for example, if I want to take a look at this specific host right here on my AWS account, I can, with one click, start taking a look at some of the apps that are running, the tags as well. And then I could jump into different areas of the platform with the context brought over. So this is important when you're troubleshooting and you're doing this process. You don't need to jump in between platforms. And since the context is brought over, for example, if I just go ahead and jump into my containers view, now the host is already brought over, making this process of troubleshooting a little bit more seamless. Now for this specific host, I can take a look at all of the containers that are running. And now if I want to even go more granular, I can take a look at one specific container. First, take a look at the context. So where is it coming from? Maybe take a look at the container image. Take a look at the related processes or the related pods, clusters, again, with this already all filtered, making this process more seamless. Now, if I go down here, I can take a look at my resource metrics for this specific container. But not only that, I can also go ahead and directly see the logs that are coming in for this specific container. So again, even if you have multiple cloud providers or you have a mixture between on-premise and cloud providers, you can go ahead and have them all in Datadog and filter quickly the logs that you need to troubleshoot, or even the traces of the applications that are running in this specific container. Now, if I want to go ahead and take a step back for this container, I can see the related resources and take a look at all of these different relationships and maybe take a look at the cluster specifically. And again, with one click, I'm able to already filter and take a look at this specific cluster, understand again the context, From here, I could jump into, again, the related containers, the related processes, maybe take a look at the pods and the nodes for this specific cluster. And here, again, take a look at the logs, the traces that are coming in, even go ahead and take a look at this, my infrastructure metrics for this specific cluster. And then, of course, all the monitors that I have set up for this specific cluster right here. We're going to touch on monitors in a second. Now, if I take a step back, again, I'm going to go back into my Explorer view. We were looking before at the containers Explorer view. Now we're looking at the clusters Explorer view. This view is actually common throughout the platform where you have a filter bar. Again, no need for a query language. You just use tags. Or you could even go ahead and just use the facets right here to make your analysis and search. Now, all of these Explorers view actually have these watchdog insights that will help you maybe understand where the issue is coming from, or even help you optimize your infrastructure. Now, at the beginning, I showed you a custom dashboard, but we also have a lot of out-of-the-box dashboards that will make your experience of starting to use Datadog easier. So, for example, for this Kubernetes view, we also have this out-of-the-box dashboard. So again, when you start using Datadog, you do not need to create a bunch of dashboards from scratch. We have this out-of-the-box for you, where you can go ahead, clone it, and then maybe copy widgets, move them around, edit them to your needs. Now, similarly, we're seeing these for Kubernetes, but we also have one for the main cloud providers, for example, for AWS. So for AWS, we have a lot of out-of-the-box dashboards per kind of product, but also an overview, which is the one that you're seeing right here. So this will give you kind of a kickstart when you start using Datadog without the need to create all of these dashboards. Now, I told you about a small troubleshooting exercise that we're going to do. So let me go back. And in our demo store, Couch Cache, we're actually having an issue at the moment. This is our Couch Cache store, by the way. And at the moment, every time our user tries to check out using this discount code, they're having this issue right here. So they're not able to check out. And I'm going to use Datadog to see where the issue may be coming from. So we took a look at our infrastructure. Basically, we had all of our different cloud providers on-prem, basically all of it in one same place. But now if I wanted to start troubleshooting this right here, I could start from my from this view right here, which is our software or service catalog. Now, basically what this is all of our services in one single place. And all of our services, as you can see here, we have, again, our web store service that we were seeing at the beginning in the main dashboard, which is basically currently has also an alert going on. But this view will help you not only understand all of the different services that you have, but take a look at it by, in this case, performance. So a lot of here, like health metrics right here, your SLOs. I could even go back into infrastructure to understand if the issue may be coming from the underlying infrastructure. Again, I have a lot of monitors set up for this service right here. So if there is a monitor or there is an alert that's being triggered, I could go ahead and take a look at the ownership tab to see, okay, who is the responsible or what team is the responsible, who's on call, to understand, okay, I need to ping this person or I need to start contacting this person because there's an alert set up for this web store. And then our users, as I showed you, they're not able to check out at the moment. So from here, I could go ahead and take a look at the service page. Now, again, this is an out-of-the-box view. You don't need to configure this for all of your services. And for this view, I'm able to see my service now by different areas. So starting off with like a summary of my health metrics, where again, going back to my troubleshooting exercise, I can see that there's this 500 type error coming in. I can take a look at my service by the different endpoints or the different resources. And again, looking at this shopping cart controller resource, this we're definitely coming back here to troubleshoot since it looks like it has to do with what my user was experiencing. But I want to show you also other ways that you can see this view in one single place again. So I can also take a look at the deployments. So if I'm having an issue, maybe I want to understand if the issue or if there's any errors that are being introduced by a new version that has been deployed. I can also take a look at the latency by version or the number of requests by version. Now I could go ahead and jump back into infrastructure, so where we were before, now specifically for my web store service. So again, in this same view, if I'm having an issue, I don't need to jump in between platforms. In one single view, I'm able to understand the underlying infrastructure to start troubleshooting from there. I could go ahead and look at my logs specific for this web store, my traces, or my endpoints, which is where we're gonna go next to troubleshoot. Now, in my endpoints, when I go ahead, I take a look at them, I'm going to see a similar view, again, out of the box, now more granular, now for one specific endpoint. And now I'm even able to take a look at the front-end impacts. Now, this is the correlation we were talking about at the beginning of having the backend and the front-end all correlated in a single platform. So in this view, I'm able to understand, okay, with this specific shopping cart controller resource, what's the front end, what are the views that are being impacted, and understand, of course, a little bit on the front end health metrics as well. I'm also able to see the dependencies to understand, again, how are all of my services correlated, to start also troubleshooting which could be the one giving me an error. Now, if I go ahead and take a look at the traces, which is where we're going to go next, again, the context is already going to be populated for me, making my troubleshooting process more seamless. And I could use, again, the facets, no need for a query language, to keep on filtering my analysis. In this case, I'm only interested in seeing my error traces. Again, Watchdog here can give me kind of a hint. Or I could just go ahead and maybe take a look at one of the traces to understand where my issue may be coming from. Now, what you see here is basically the frame graph showing all the requests divided into all the different steps. You can also take a look at, for example, the infrastructure for this specific trace. So again, here, if I'm troubleshooting, I want to understand if maybe it has to do with my underlying infrastructure, I'm able to see, okay, when this trace was generated, how were my infrastructure metrics in this point in time? I could also go ahead and take a look at my logs, so related logs to this specific trace. Even go ahead and take a look at my related SQL queries for this specific request. Or what I could do is basically take a look at the map right here to understand, okay, where in this request might be maybe coming from my error. So if I understand correctly and looking at my user, they were not able to check out. So if I follow, for example, I know this web store service is having an error. And if I follow, for example, this payments go service, which kind of makes sense with what my user was experiencing at the time of trying to pay, I can see that, or following this line, I can see that it's coming from this API direct banking service right here. And I can even understand now that they were not able to check out because this rate limit is being exceeded. Now, this is one of the ways that you can go ahead and get to the root cause of the error. But the other way you could do that is by logs. Or maybe now I want to just understand or take a look at the logs. Now that I know exactly what the issue was, maybe now I want to take a look at my logs. So for that, what I would do is basically go into, again, another explorer. This time is the logs explorer. And again, the context is already brought over. So now I'm seeing the log specifically related to this span. But if I wanted to troubleshoot just using the Log Explorer from scratch, I can go ahead and, for example, start using my facets here to filter. So again, I would filter for my web store service, maybe just filter for my error logs. Maybe I just want to take a look at my logs for the past 4 hours. And then maybe go ahead and just filter for the production environment, again, just using the facets right here. However, with logs, we can also use natural language. So for example, right now, I'm not sure where my issue is. I just know that the users are not able to pay. So for example, here, I can just go ahead and type out payment. And now take a look at all of the logs that are coming in related to payment. Now, of course, we have almost 15,000 logs found, which is still a lot to troubleshoot. So what I would do now is use this patterns feature. And now instead of taking a look at all of the different logs or randomly sampling logs to see where the issue was, I can just take a look at now 7 patterns found to see where the issue could be coming from. And again, similarly to what we got through with the traces, now I'm able to get to the bottom of this error with logs using this pattern recognition that's telling me again that there's this rate limit being exceeded. I could go ahead and maybe take a look at one specific log to take a look at the different attributes and then correlate it back to the traces. So we could go from the traces correlated to the logs or to the logs correlated back to the traces. Again, similarly to what we saw with the traces, I can also take a look at my infrastructure metrics and correlate it with the time the log was created to see if, again, one of these maybe CPU usage peaks is correlating with when the log was created to understand if it may be something to do with my infrastructure, for example. Now, all of this, for example, in this case, if this type of log is important to me, I can go ahead and graph it, maybe in a time series, and quickly add it to a dashboard. Or I could go ahead and just add it to a monitor. So we, of course, do not expect all of you to be looking at Datadog 24/7. So that's why we have a lot of monitors set up. In this case, we're creating a log monitor. Again, the context is already brought over. You can go ahead and set the alert conditions for when it's an alert and for when it's a warning. And then configure your notification and automations. So what this means is that you can go ahead and add your communication channel, either Slack, Teams, maybe an email, and go ahead and create a workflow for it. What this means is that maybe if it's something on your infrastructure, you need to restart something or maybe roll back a version, you can go ahead and add these types of automations to your monitors. So again, if this happens when you're not entirely in your computer, you can go ahead and trigger this workflow when you get this monitor. Now again, from all of the areas that we saw today, you can basically create a monitor. So all the way from our different dashboards that we saw, from our infrastructure, from our logs, from our traces and the application performance monitoring, from all of this, you can actually go ahead and create monitors as you see right here, which at the end kind of concludes the demo today. Being able to correlate all of these areas, have these proactive features as well, such as Watchdog, but also have different alerts set up so you get to the bottom of issues faster and also get to the issues before your users do. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Let me share my screen. So we have seen now how Datadog Observability is correlating data from different services and how powerful this feature is in Datadog. Let's zoom out a bit and look at the business value of observability and cloud platform adoption in general. When we look at different projects where centralized observability platforms were introduced, we often see MTTR, so mean time to recovery reductions from 40 to 60%. Also, when we look at the return on invest of the observability platform projects we have done. There is also 150 to 200% return on invest in the first year of the observability platform. What's also interesting in this regard to look at is the cloud adoption and maturity models a Forrester study has showcased. There you see that 80% of the high maturity companies in cloud adoption are actually reaching their goals in the cloud. And one of the ways to actually increase your maturity in cloud adoption is also to have a centralized observability platform. The problem with this is that only 8% in this study of the companies are actually in the high maturity model. The bigger part of companies is not there yet. And with a lower maturity, also the business goals in the cloud are often not met. One other factor where companies are actually aligning on in our industry is that developer tool chains are way too fragmented, and that they need to be consolidated. So what do we do about these numbers with cloud platform engineering? When we look at cloud platform engineering and where it came from, in the recent years, often the term DevOps was a very big topic in our industry. And cloud platform engineering derived from that as the self-service approach for infrastructure or for full live application value chain automations in our industry. So in DevOps, one of the bigger problems was that often the wheel was reinvented in distributed teams over and over again. And so cloud platform engineering is centralizing the non-functional requirements in our application development and building software and automations around that. And that's what we call a developer experience platform. So a developer experience platform is a product which cloud platform engineering teams are working on in order to optimize the efficiency of the application value chain in the companies. And so when we work with our customers, there are 4 different distinct pillars of our developer experience platform. One is the application lifecycle, one is the infrastructure lifecycle, security lifecycle, and observability lifecycle. Most companies are very strong in application lifecycle, but in the other 3 pillars, often we see bigger optimization opportunities. So someone might ask the question, why actually are these 4 life cycles different, and why do you need different tools for the different life cycles? So from a technical perspective, I think there are very distinct traits of these life cycles from architectural perspective. So when we look at the data in the application lifecycle, it's fairly low data volume. In the observability area, on the other hand, it's a very, very big volume of data. In the observability space, also data is changing frequently, and you want to have real-time data, whereas in the application lifecycle, changes are not as frequent, and deployments might happen once a week, once a month, depending on the company. From a business perspective, also there are very different, distinct traits of these life cycles, where different roles work in these different areas, and where processes have to be optimized for these specific topics in the platform. When we work with our customers, how do we approach the developer experience platform projects? So we have already talked about what cloud platform engineering is, what a developer experience platform is, and that the ultimate goal of our efforts is increasing the developer experience and the value companies are getting from development efforts. Cloud platform engineering is the implementation part, DevEx platform is a product, and we have a goal. So with our customers, it's really important because it's very different what strategic goals the companies are having, that the goals are defined, and also compromises have to be found on the product side. And defining those is one of the first steps in our journey with our customers to a successful cloud DevEx platform. What we will look today in more detail in our demo is how the goal improved second day operation is reached with the developer experience platform through the centralized unified observability platform with Datadog. One other aspect before we dive into the demo, and very important part, are golden parsers in DevEx platforms. Golden parsers are templates for developers to use or reuse in order to standardize the non-functional requirements in the company. And those non-functional requirements are changing depending on the company and the business goals of those companies. So there are different governance regulations, there are different guardrails needed to be adhered. CI/CD pipelines might look a little bit different, but within a company, normally we see that through abstraction, those kind of things can be standardized and put into templates to be reused. And what you gain with that is actually a consistency across your stack, and consistency across your cloud resources and your application development efforts. So let's dive into the demo and look how we can create a small microservice with the developer experience platform. So today I will showcase an AI-driven workflow where the goal is to create a small Lambda function, which is connected to Datadog and fully configured from the start on for the developer to actually start coding on features and not taking the time to configure the non-functional requirements. We want to create a new DevEx project. Type this in. Yeah, the AI is going through my request and realizing, okay, I want to create a developer experience platform project. And then it lists the different templates within the organization which are available. It's rendering it automatically into a clickable UI. And you can select the Python Lambda Datadog demo template. I'm doing that. Then as a second step, we need to define where this project is actually being deployed and where it's living in your application lifecycle tool. And so I search for a playground group where I want to deploy my microservice. Okay, there was an error. This is like always in a demo, and this is also one part of AI. Sometimes it's not doing what you want to search. Good, so this time it actually worked. So we want to search for the playground group within the playground group for different groups within GitLab. And again, the different options are given back and rendered into a clickable UI. I select the group I want to deploy to. And then as a last step for today, I actually need to give the project a name. Okay, the name, it's interpreted as search for playground. I type in name the project to have a better name for our repository. And so it's clearing up the mistake and we can create the actual project. So now in the background, it will actually set up all the things which normally a developer has to do on its own, and kickstarting the project for the microservice to be developed. So we have now here the URL of the GitLab repository we have created. And what you see is actually that the CI pipeline is pre-configured. There's also a template for the function itself. So the service code. We have some Python code in here, and the pipeline already started and is creating now also in the background actually the cloud resources and the Datadog configuration. And because it takes around 2 to 5 minutes to create, I will jump into a pre-configured or pre-created demo where we now look into how do we configure Datadog. So we use Terraform as the infrastructure as code language to define different Datadog standardized components. And what we create today is for one thing, the service definition we have seen in Daniela's demo. And what's actually passed in here is also the linking to the GitLab repository. Then we create also what we have seen today, the Datadog monitor with infrastructure as code. Then we create the service level objective and also a synthetic test. So these are the 4 components which are basically which a developer does not need to create anymore, but is already attached to the service from the start on. So with that, let's jump into Datadog and look how this is actually then popping up in Datadog. So when we go to our services, we see now that the Datadog Python demo is already created, and that also monitors SLO, linked source code, version tagging. So all the great features of Datadog are pre-configured and without any clicks to be done from the developer, just by duplicating the template or the golden path we have provided as a cloud platform engineering team. When we jump then to the service page, we see that at the moment there is one monitor and alert state, and also that errors are coming in. So when we are getting to the error page, there is here a built-in value error. And this is also one great integration from Datadog. It actually, through the integration with GitLab, can actually directly link to the source code which is producing this error. So when we look here, we have our Lambda handler. So this is the actual source code. And then we see that there is it's just raising an error. So we want to fix this error in the code, and we can jump with that to our GitLab page. So clicking here, we get directly to our source code, to the line which is producing the error. And yeah, let's on the fly fix that. We have also another great feature in GitLab here. We can actually edit our source code in the web IDE. Jump to the line. So we have here our error. We just uncomment this and put a proper response into it. And so now, yeah, we have a successful return message for our customers, and push that to GitLab. So I think this is definitely simplification for the demo purposes. But now in the background, the pre-configured CI/CD pipeline is running through. So when we look in our demo code, we see now going into the pipelines that actually this is currently running. And with that, I also want to introduce one last feature of Datadog. So jumping into Datadog and into the software delivery part of Datadog, we have also CI/CD visibility within Datadog. So you get an overview of all your projects within, for example, GitLab, to actually see how your pipelines are currently, in which status they are, how much errors they have, how long they run in a median time. So also for cloud platform engineering, these are very important metrics to optimize the pipelines, actually deploying the code into production. And with that, yeah, this is I'm through with the demo and jump back to our slides. So I also want to highlight one success story we had recently with one of our customers, introducing Datadog as the centralized observability platform. It was a manufacturing customer in the IoT space, which had some challenges in their software development department. So they worked in a distributed system environment where the complexity was growing, and they had a very low visibility into their infrastructure parts and also into the different application layers. And they had from time to time outages, which were very hard to troubleshoot and to find the actual root causes of their software problems they had. And they had also a very reactive approach to service outages, which they wanted to address by introducing Datadog as their observability platform into the company. So the company decided to go with Datadog and also work with demicon as a professional service provider to quickly ramp up the introduction of the Datadog platform within their environment. So we, as a professional service provider, provided expert support to follow best practices and get up running as quickly as possible. The project from initial start to actually having the first production services being monitored with Datadog took less than a month. In the end, we were able to introduce the 3 pillars also Daniela mentioned earlier, with metrics, logs, and APMs, and infrastructure monitoring into the customer environment, and also provided some custom dashboardings for even more detailed and fine granular metrics. From our successes, in the end, we had faster incident responses with Datadog for actually fixing problems. We had a deep visibility into their infrastructure and the application stack, actually finding the bottlenecks where customers were lost. And then last but not least, we empowered the engineering teams through automations and the correlation capabilities of Datadog to actually improve their second-day operation efforts. So who are we as demicon? We are a professional service company working in the automotive industry and also finance and manufacturing industry, so in highly regulated environments. And we have since 16 years working with big companies in the DACH region. So why should you work with Datadog and demicon together? So one part I think is really important. Observability is a very, very important topic overall, but not automatically the total cost of ownership for Datadog can be reduced. So some of the guardrails have to be put in place in order to most efficiently use Datadog. And with a partner like demicon, you can bring from the first day on actual expertise of the Datadog platform into your company. We will also help the smooth adoption and scaling efforts of Datadog. And I think one of our strong suits is really the end-to-end integration I showcased also today, the application value chain. And in the end, this, in my opinion, leads to improved developer experience and also better business outcomes. And with that, let's dive into a Q&A session. So we have one question, which is the DevEx tool which creates the project with the AI help limited to Visual Studio Code, or does it also integrate into other developer tools? I think I mentioned earlier that, developers love their software tools. And we actually also provide a CLI tool, which can be used from your terminal window, for example, and also other native Visual Studio Code plugin, which is not in need of the AI itself. So I think in the end, and this can also be a custom implementation, the interfaces we provide to our platform are very straightforward, and it's a quick work to also integrate it into the different developer tools out there. So I hoped there was a lot of content today, I think, in a very short time span. I hope you learned something and could take something away. I will share my screen again one last time. If you have any further questions, also please feel free to reach out to us or Datadog in order to get into more detailed discussions. I think a demo is also just as detailed as possible for the time frame, but we can certainly dive a lot deeper into the different topics. And with that, thanks a lot for your attention and for joining today. I'm very excited about this topic and hope you are as well. Have a great day.